More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Foden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a goal! What a goal! What a goal from Al Robson Carnham! Folks, good way you kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagati, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
Here's Mendy! There's that race-class roll again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast for one of those recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. Daz unfortunately is stuck in work this week, so won't be joining us, but in a week when a serial Guinness World Record breaker teamed up with his young son to earn the title for the fastest time to clear Hungry Hippos by a team of two. David Rush, an Idaho resident who holds the most concurrent Guinness World Record titles, and his son Peter approached him a few months ago to inquire about breaking a record as a father and son duo. We sifted through ideas, explored categories, and looked for something that was not only achievable, but fun and something that we could enjoy together, Rush wrote online. Eventually we found it, the Guinness World Records title for the fastest time to clear Hungry Hippos, brackets, team of two, close brackets. The duo started practicing to beat the previous world record of 8.91 seconds, and soon discovered the title was within reach. With cameras rolling, hearts pounding, and that familiar mix of nerves and excitement, we launched into our official attempt, Rush said. After so many tries, we got it in just 5.8 seconds. We cleared the board and claimed the Guinness World Records title, Peter's very first. Rush said he and Peter created a memory that will outlast any record. Well, if anyone knows how to achieve something by moving their hand up and down really, really fast to finish off the balls, it's this guy. It's Jamie.
Hi. Don't know what you mean.
Hungry. We played Hungry Hippos when we were kids, didn't we? Except I seem to remember trying to make you eat the balls.
Yeah, I was going to say you've probably got more of a recollection of that than me, and no doubt it involved. I don't know. You probably coerced me into putting my testicles
stuff up your nose
underneath the hip or something.
Stuff like that. Yeah, but still, 5.8 seconds to clear that. That's impressive. Because I remember playing it at Christmas time, and you've got to give it a real bash to get any. I'm just going to stop talking because all the images are just coming in. They're all the wrong ones. So let's just leave it there, shall we? I think it's probably best. Anyway, on Wrexham news, Wrexham AFC will host Nottingham Forest in the third round of the Emirates FA Cup. First time these two sides met was at this stage of the competition in 1982, where the Red Dragons beat Brian Clough's side 3-1 at the City Ground. Nice. All the ties will take place between the 9th and 13th of January in 2026. Jamie, finally, Parky's broke his duck. We've been crying out for such a long time. Can we get a Premier League side? Which we've got one. We're at home, which is great. Nottingham Forest not doing fantastically well at the moment. A friend of mine who's a Nottingham Forest supporter messaged me straight afterwards and went, "You've got a good chance here because we're very hot and cold." Thoughts?
Look, it is a great tie, isn't it? I think I think a lot of us wanted. Parky himself wanted a Premier League team. Would I have loved a a Liverpool, a Man United, a Chelsea, and Arsenal, yes, I would have. Would I have loved to have gone to St James's Park or to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Yes, I would have. But equally, this is a great tie. Nottingham Forest are a fantastic football club. We talked a few weeks ago about Sheffield Wednesday and their kind of rich history in the English game. Nottingham Forest are right up there, aren't they? The same. They're a proper old school football club. Lots of history, and I think most people would agree that they're where they belong in the Premier League. Yes, they're not having the best of times this season. It'll be, excuse me, I think apart from anything else, it'll be fascinating because you've got Parky and Sean Dyche as probably the two of the most archaic managerial styles in the modern game. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But look, I think there's so many interesting facets to this because I think a couple of years ago, if you'd have gone back to the team, the Mullin, Palmer, Lee team, we would have fancied our chances in this. This is a whole different group of players. So it'll be interesting to see whether these players have that same kind of mentality of going into this with the view of like a giant killing, because it's not as much of a giant anymore, is it? We're not that million miles away from where they are. So
it's a good test, though, isn't it? It's a good test because Nottingham Forest are kind of bottom four of the Premier League.
Yeah.
We want to get up towards the top of the Championship. A lot of the times that teams that go for the Championship end up in the bottom three, so it's close.
I think it's
closer
as well. It's unlikely. I think Nottingham Forest are probably one of the few Premiership sides that probably won't rotate that much. In other words, I think the team they would put out for this would probably be quite strong. Whereas if you got, say, a Chelsea, a Man United, a Liverpool, it'd probably be a completely different 11, full of, under 21s and stuff like that. Whereas with Forest, I would imagine the bulk of the team that they play on that day will be their first team. But look at it. It's a great draw. Absolutely no complaints. Although the only thing that was puzzling about this draw was, did you see the draw live?
Yes, I did.
What have we ever done to Brackley Town, or is it Brackley Town, Brackley United? What are they called?
Brackley Town. To be fair, I saw some responses from some of their fans, and they said that they weren't booing Wrexham; they were booing because they didn't get Wrexham. They actually wanted to play us.
Got you.
And the one fan, in fact, I saw two comments online. Actually, we're close into hating Chester, is what they said.
Fair play.
So
sorry, we didn't get back.
We not us they were booing. It's because they were booing the fact that they didn't draw us, apparently, because they thought obviously they would have definitely been on telly, and they're going to be on telly anyway.
That makes sense because when I was watching it and our name came out and they booed, I was like, "What the hell have we ever done to Brackley?" But anyway, that makes a lot of sense. So great draw, brilliant draw. Without being arrogant or anything, it's a winnable one, isn't it? It is an opportunity for us. We're at home, obviously. It'll be interesting to see when the game takes place because
there are strong rumours that I've seen online today that it's going to be a Friday night game.
Okay, I mean,
it's going to be like the premium Friday night game before the main Saturday with most of the draws in.
I wasn't sure when I looked at some of the fixtures. I wasn't sure whether this would necessarily be one that they'd pick for TV. But I think the problem that you've got is that, like I say a minute ago, a Wrexham in League Two versus a Premier League team is a very different tie, isn't it? A Wrexham in the Championship versus a Premier League team from a placement point of view is not that big of a deal. However, you and I both know that from an international audience perspective, there'll be a lot of eyes on this game, won't there? So it wouldn't surprise me if it gets picked for that reason.
Plus, having it at the racecourse, because the racecourse is still a classic old ground, it's not one of these soulless bowls. So Telly likes it because it's exciting. It's a cauldron of noise and everything. So they like it as well. So that would suit them, which would be quite interesting. Arthur Okonkwo has been nominated for the PFA Championship Fans Player of the Month award for November. Okonkwo was part of the defensive unit that kept 4 clean sheets throughout the month as the Reds went unbeaten. Arthur has been nominated alongside Finn Azaz from Southampton, Hayden Hackney from Middlesbrough, Ayun Hegbo from West Brom, Ellis Sims from Coventry, and Soba Thomas from Stoke. Totally deserved, Jamie. Let's be honest, he's been holding everything together quite nicely, and particularly when we talk later on, he definitely kind of saved our bacon on Saturday. It'll be announced very, very soon, and he's got a good chance, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, very well deserved nomination. Whether he deserves to win is a difficult one to say, isn't it? Because you and I wouldn't have watched those other players that have been nominated week in, week out. So it's hard to say who's had the biggest impact.
Well, Sober Thomas we saw because he scored against us.
Yes,
That was about it, really.
But from our perspective, obviously, we know how good of a month in November Arthur had. I mean, he was phenomenal, and you know, if we're being brutally honest, he probably gained us points in some games where we possibly or probably shouldn't have had any points with some key saves. So yeah, very, very well deserved. I mean, the thing with Arthur that's shocked me this last sort of week or so, whenever it was, is this whole Nigeria debacle, which I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm delighted from our perspective because it means we're not going to miss him for AFCON. But how on earth can there be 6 other Nigerian goalkeepers that are better than Arthur Okonkwo? I mean, they must have a stable of absolute worldy goalkeepers if that's the case.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's not been named of one of 6 goalkeepers in a preliminary World Cup squad is baffling. But like I say, from our point of view, purely from a Wrexham point of view, it's a good thing because it means we're not going to miss him for a month.
Well, good luck, Arthur, and let's hope you win. So Saturday saw Wrexham travel up to the northwest to take on Preston North End at Deepdale in the EFL Championship. Jamie, let's look at the lineup first. 3 changes from the draw versus Blackburn Rovers. Ryan Barnett made his first start for a number of months in for Ryan Longman. George Dobson in for Matty James and George Thomason in for Lewis O'Brien. You said last week they'll probably change up the midfield to freshen it up, and they certainly have. So any changes on that for you?
I mean, we talked last week, didn't we, about certainly my opinion. I'm not sure Sheaf and Matty James can play in the same midfield.
There was somebody who sort of questioned that because they kind of had a comment to make saying, "Oh, they were really, really good against Coventry. Why are you down? Why are you putting them down and whatever?" I wasn't putting them down. I was just saying it as I saw it. In that game against Blackburn, the two of them together almost cancelled each other out. As in, it was too defensive. That's all it was. I'm not saying they were bad players, and I'm not saying they played badly together. It just didn't fit in that format against that team, is what I meant.
I think where Coventry's concerned, I think you've got to put that down as a slight anomaly in the sense of how well we played pretty much for the whole game. We've not replicated that yet this season. We've had good halves and we've had good passages of play, but we've not had another game this season where we played as well for as long as we did. I think they were all kind of just found a groove. I think generally, as a general kind of week to week different opposition home and away, I'm just my personal opinion. I'm not sure that Sheaf and Matty James fit in our midfield the way we play, because fundamentally they're too similar. And if you end up with the Matty James, I don't know whether it's by proxy, by rank, by seniority, whatever, he seems to be the one that takes that sitting defensive midfield role, which is fair enough. But the problem is then that's them pushing Sheaf into the advanced midfield role, and he is not as effective in that role. That's not his best position. That's just an opinion of why I don't think the two of them really work in the same team. So, no, I was pleased to see obviously Dobson come back in because we spoke about how good of a season he's having. Thomason, I think, is going under the radar a little bit. I think he's being very steady Eddie. I guess really the kind of mark has been laid down for Lewis O'Brien now. This was a massive big money signing that by all accounts was up there from some fan bases is considered one of the best midfielders in the Championship. So the challenge is there for him now to prove. He started well for us, but then he seems to have dropped off a little bit. So the fact that Thomason's getting picked ahead of him is an interesting one. And then on the wing backs, seeing Barney given an opportunity, I don't think Longman's been okay, but I don't think he's necessarily set the world on fire. So giving Barney a chance is fine. I think the bottom line is that, as we spoke about a few times before, without Kabore and Crackers, we're just their level is significantly higher than any other wing back options we have. So if they're missing any of the other options that we go with, is a bit of a meh, if I'm being brutally honest. So seeing Barney given an opportunity is, didn't have really any issues with that.
So, what was at times a bit infuriating, at times nail biting. 90 plus minutes. Whip cross in by James McLean got through everyone and turned into the far post by Keith Moore in 4 minutes. It might be too early to score. Some people have that thing about it's too early to score. Having had numerous chances to level proceedings, Preston eventually equalised through substitute Everton loanee Armstrong, who drilled beyond the Carther Okonkwo with just 11 minutes after coming off the bench. Wrexham managed to hang on for their 9th draw in the Championship. The highest number of draws by any team in all of the top 4 tiers. It's a funny one, this one, Jamie, because straight afterwards, I was quite upset and annoyed and really disappointed. And then I slept on it and I woke up and I was like, well, do you know what? A 1-1 draw isn't that bad against a team like Preston. I think it was just because we were in the league for such a long time. So I kind of checked myself a bit and thought, okay, well, that's not so bad. What were your thoughts on this game?
So just before I say anything about the game, can I just take this opportunity to just mention one other thing about this game that really boiled my piss, but I want to mention it.
Yeah.
So there were some rather strange comments by a few online before this game. How can I put it? Criticising the fact that we were only taking 3,300 fans to Preston. And I'll be honest, right, grated on me. It really grated on me for a few reasons. But one of the main reasons why it annoyed me was because some of the comments I saw, there seems to be this hatred amongst some of newer fans and fans that, moan, for want of a better words, about not being able to get home tickets and there's plenty of opportunity to go away and blah 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 blah. And what really gets my goat about some of the things I read, and it's not the first time, is this criticism of people who don't go home and away every week in, week out, and pigeonholing everybody as being, oh well, you pick and choose when you want to go. Preston's only down the road. There's a tickets available. Why aren't you going to that? And I think, who am I or you or anybody else to question anybody else's choice to go which games they want to go to or whatever? But the reason why it pisses me off so much is that because it's almost like this dick swinging exercise, like I'm a better fan than you because I go home and away, right? If you are in a position financially, time-wise, and any other reason you want to think of, that you are able to go and follow the team home and away all over the country every week, I tip my hat off to you, and you have my utmost respect. You fall into that category quite high up because you live 3.5 hours away from Wrexham, yet you come up for the home games on a Saturday more often than not. You travel to a lot of away games, whether that's train, car, bus, or whatever. You don't go to them all because you fall into the bracket of then myself and several others where financially and time and family commitment wise, I can't afford the time to be able to go week in, week out, home and away all the time. It's just not physically possible. But that doesn't mean I'm any less of a supporter than anybody else.
No.
And why I just don't understand why there's this incessant need to want to really kind of be aggy with parts of the fan base because they can't afford to go or can't get the time to go to Preston 3 weeks before Christmas in December when there's already other games to play. It really grated on me because it's not the first time this has happened.
No.
It's really...
ticket prices aren't cheap, are they? You're talking about 30 plus bucks a time, possibly more, depending on where you go. Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether you saw the thing this week where Oxford were playing Blackburn at Blackburn, and Blackburn charged them £10 less per fan.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
criminal.
That's criminal, and that's a whole other topic in itself. But it's just that whole thing of the criticism of the fact we were only taking 3,300 fans to Preston with it being a local one. You know, it's just, I think that's an incredible following wherever it is.
Do you know what? I've not done the research, but I bet you any money if you looked to see away fans on that Saturday, you'll be hard pressed to find many other teams who will take anywhere near 3,300 away.
Yeah,
hard pressed, I reckon.
Like I say, it was a great following. I just find it a little bit annoying that this rears its head from time to time, where there's sort of civil war kind of internal criticism amongst the fan base from some, because, you know, some people can't go every week. You know, it just, like I say, it grated on me. It just annoyed me a little bit. But look, that's, everybody's entitled to their opinion. So the game itself, to be fair, I think, you know, this was the game was inevitably followed by lots of online Preston fans saying, "Can't believe we didn't win against these. These are the shittest side we've seen all season."
Yeah, well,
the usual blah 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 blah. I mean, first and foremost, for me, I thoroughly enjoyed the game. You know, again, I know I've said this a few times. You know, some weeks I come on, we talk about games, and I often start with saying I thoroughly enjoyed the game just as a spectacle. And this was another one. I thought this was a really, really good game of football against two, you know, between two quite well matched, good, honest sides. You know, the conditions were horrendous, but the teams got on with it, and they, you know, they did everything. They both did everything they could to try and make the most of the game. I thought, you know, we had spells in the game where I actually thought we played okay. Obviously, we get that very early goal, which, you know, fair play to James McLean. It's a brilliant ball into the box. I think what it showed us that the goal, I mean, you know, Keith can't do any more than he's done. It wasn't a spectacular goal or anything like that, but he you know, he was in the right place at the right time, and he's capitalised on their mistake. And the fact that he's got it in from a Wrexham away perspective, that was the perfect start, because, you know, as we know, we tend to go away from home with a view of making it difficult for the opposition to score and then try and get a goal on the break, or try and get a goal from some means. The fact we managed to get the early goal gave us something to defend it. So yeah, it wasn't a spectacular goal, but it was a good goal. But what it did highlight, which we saw then throughout the rest of the first half, was how fragile Preston's defence was. I mean, at times it was like watching Disney on ice. You know, they were all over the place. They were just they were like slipping over. They were giving the ball away. And I'm watching the game as the game's unfolding. I'm thinking, if we get at these, I think we can force them into mistake. They looked defensively, they looked really, really iffy in that first half in particular. And I think that's probably the one thing. I'd be very surprised if Parky didn't pick up on that at half time and so I kind of mentioned that. And probably, you know, internally, he was probably disappointed that we hadn't been able to make more, you know, punish the mistakes more. But, you know, ultimately we still go in 1-0 up, which is a great position to be in. And as the half goes on, yes, they grew into the game, and yes, they created by far the better chance. You know, we have created chances, we've created some chances, we've created a couple of good chances. Obviously, we forced their goalkeeper into a double save. Likewise, Arthur's had to make a double save amongst other saves. But I think that's the biggest. I think the biggest kind of, I guess, concern for me, because it's a bit of a pattern, is going forward, we look a little bit lackluster. You know, we look a little bit bereft of ideas. You know, everything involves Kiefer Moore, you know, Broadhead. I mean, I want him to do well so badly. You know, I think probably, as given that we're Wrexham fans, and he's a local lad, and as Welsh fans as well. I think we're all willing him to improve and to really for it to work out for him. But he is struggling at the minute. He is struggling. But the problem is that he reminds us in these games very, very briefly from time to time that he's capable of something, a moment of magic that not many other players can do at this level. But going forward, I just think we just look very one dimensional, and we just look a little bit easy to work out, to be honest with you. And as you'd expect with Preston being at home, they grew into the half, they grew into the game, they created lots of chances. And, given that we got to like 81 minutes, there's part of me that's thinking we might be able to keep them out here. But then as soon as they scored, it was a case of, I wasn't, it was interesting. Excuse me. It was interesting you said there that after the game you were furious. I'll be honest with you, pretty much as soon as they scored, my immediate thought and feeling was that's probably about right. I think if we'd have come away from that with 3 points, we'd have absolutely stolen it. If we'd have come away losing, I think if you look at the balance of the game, you'd have probably been hard pushed to argue that they didn't deserve it. But either way, or whichever way you look at it, we've come away from another tough away day. Very different game to the one in the Carabao Cup. But we've come away from another very difficult away day with a point. If you can't win, don't lose. So I think all in all, it was a good result. I don't think we were as bad as what was the picture that was painted by, granted, mainly by sort of Preston fans after the game. I didn't think we were that bad. I thought we were at times during the game we looked okay. But I think a draw was at the very least was a fair result. But I guess like I say, from our point of view, you've just got to be. I think we've got to be happy with the point on the road and move on to the next one.
Shame that Harrison Armstrong was the one who scored, because obviously we tried to sign him in the summer as a loanee and he decided to go to Preston instead. There's a bit of a theme as well. A theme when we'll talk about Hull in a bit. He's come back from injury, not played for ages, steps up, scores the goal. And again, like Southampton, we scored, but then couldn't hold on to the lead. Same as against Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, is this a problem that we can't close out games where they're tight?
I think the bigger problem is more the fact that we're not. Going back to what I said a minute ago, I think it's not so much. I don't think so much that we're incapable of closing out a game. I think where we're falling down is we are not creating. We're either not creating enough in the final third, or when we are creating chances, we're not being ruthless enough. I don't think we're giving ourselves. There's been some games where we've created and had some really, really big chances, and we're obviously going to come on to Hull in a minute. There's a great case of it there, but there have been games where we've created big chances and we've not taken them, we've wasted them, and then it's come back and haunted us. That Sheffield Wednesday one at home you mentioned there, that was a great example of it. We were 2-0 up and we probably should have been 3 or 4-0 up. They shouldn't have even had a sniff, but because we were ruthless and we didn't take our chances, we've ended up losing 2 points. So I think there's a little bit of that in this. The problem you've got is that at this level, if your model is to try and defend and be difficult to break down, which we are, we absolutely are. But if that is your model to do that, the problem that you've got is it's very, very difficult to do that week in, week out at this level, because there are too many good quality teams and players in this division that just, you're just impossible to shut them out for such long periods of time. I just think for me, a lot of the time, it's the fact that we are so one-dimensional from an offensive point of view, and we don't have any real ideas. I mean, we talked about it last year, didn't we? And we, maybe haven't really spoke about it too much this year because there's been lots of other talking points, and as a general rule of thumb, we're in a very, very good position. But we're crying out for a creative midfielder, somebody that can grab hold of the ball and dictate a game from an offensive point of view. We've got some quality midfielders. We have got some quality midfielders. And I kind of thought and hoped and thought maybe Lewis O'Brien might be that person, but he's not really shown that yet. But it'd be interesting it would be very interesting to know whether Parky thinks the same. I don't know. But for me, we'd really benefit from like a really creative attacking midfield player, somebody that can, score goals as well as create goals from a forward perspective. But yeah, like I say, I think there was. I think we did have reason to be disappointed after the game because, like you said, with great point, we've led for so long in that game, despite the amount of pressure we were under in the second half. We led for so long in that game. The fact that we've conceded with 9 minutes, 10 minutes to go is frustrating. But at the end of the day, unlike the Southampton one where we've not only lost the lead, but we've ended up conceding a losing goal as well. At least we've come away from it with something, and I think that's probably the most important thing. But yeah, like I say, decent point. There are definitely frustrations and disappointments to the game, but a decent point, and I don't think we can have any complaints at all by only getting a point from that game when you consider how much of the ball, how many chances they created.
And to answer your question, I did some quick research. There was only one game in the whole of the Championship, League One, League Two, and the FA Cup that had more away fans than we did, and that was Carlisle at Blackpool. They took 3,500, but it's a derby. Literally, Carlisle and Blackpool are just up the road from each other, and it's an FA Cup. We were next with 3,359. So,
I just thought it was a very. I thought it was a very odd thing to say, isn't it? I thought it was a very odd thing to be critical of. But the reason why
shoot your own fans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to go opposition fans, that's fair enough. But you don't shoot your own fans. That's mad.
But the reason why it boiled my piss more than anything else is because I fall into that bracket where I can't go every week for different reasons. But I wish I could. But if I was able to do that, I certainly wouldn't rip on somebody that couldn't. It's just unfair to pigeonhole everybody that can't or doesn't go every week home and away, to pigeonhole them as being spot reds or poor fans or whatever it might be, because you don't know people's circumstances.
No, not at all. Not at all. Sunday saw a trip to the Soggy Rock to see Wrexham AFC take on Aberystwyth Town Women AFC in the Adran Premier. Let's look at the lineup first, Jamie. Two changes from the win over Swansea City. Cara Jones in for Faye Knox and Rosie Hughes in for Ava Suckley, who's away visiting family. Jamie, again, two changes. You're making a couple of changes, but the core is still there. You said a number of weeks ago, you thought Jenny had found her core, and she seems to be living up to that, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, with the greatest respect to Rosie, I think if Ava Suckley had been available, I think she would have probably been in, and there would have just been the one change. Interesting though that she's brought Rosie in rather than Abby Eddington. That's an interesting one, but maybe sort of testament to Rosie's recent form. Not surprised by a couple of changes to freshen it up, but like you've just said yourself there, the core remaining consistent is kind of what I expect now.
Well, in what was a much tougher game than was expected, Aberystwyth really turned up, and bravo to them because they made a massive difference and made this a very, very exciting and interesting game. Superb lofted goal by Rosie Hughes on 3 minutes, an absolute belter as the ball came free to the edge of the box. I was standing right behind it, and she hit it, and it just curled beautifully into the far corner around the goalkeeper, which was great to go 1-0 up. And then a bit of a controversial goal by Amy Jenkins. So she robbed the ball from Jodie Bartle and rounded Liz Craven. Controversial goal by Amy Jenkins. She robbed the ball from Jodie Bartle and then took a long-range shot over Lizzie Craven, who was out of position in 15 minutes. Jamie, I've looked at the rules for this. Okay, so what happened was that, ironically, it was Amy Jenkins, obviously, who was injured. She got injured, head injury, so they assessed the head injury, which was fine. It made Amy Jenkins go off. then she was told to come back on just at the point where basically she was right next to where the defence had the ball. Smith basically had her back turned, still didn't see her. Amy Jenkins came up and basically robbed the ball, although the ball bounced to Jodie Barker and Jodie Bartle, sorry, and then she went on and scored the goal. Now, I've looked at the rules, and there are no specific rules about when you can let a player on after an injury break. It doesn't say it. It's basically down to the referee. I spoke to my wife about it, who's a trained referee, and she said, yeah, you're taught basically to there's no specific rule, but to make good sportsmanship, try and get it till the player comes on where they can't affect the live play that's going on. And that did not happen. And Wrexham, unfortunately, was set up in a way where they were set up for attack, which meant that Lizzie Craven was way off her line, almost on the edge of her box. Amy Jenkins robbed the ball. And don't get me wrong, great finish by Amy Jenkins, long range shot, but Lizzie was out of position and it went over her head into the goal. I mean, there's nothing you do about it. Was it just one of those things, or do you kind of think, well... Yeah.
To be brutally honest with you, I didn't see that bit of the game. So I did watch this game, but I didn't see the first 20 minutes because
there were problems with iFollow again, weren't there, apparently?
Well, given the fact that at one point, I mean, it was stuttering and it was coming on for a few seconds and going off, but then, and I shit you not, and I've got video evidence of this, at one point, some rugby came on.
Handball!
On the Wrexham iFollow feed, some rugby came on. I was looking at it thinking, am I on drugs or something here? Because, legit, I don't know what happened. For a good 25 seconds, there was a feed from somewhere of some rugby. So that's how bad it was. But yeah, I mean, obviously, a few of the guys that are in the Discord group, we're all suffering the same, so it wasn't just me. But yeah, I think the first 18, 20 minutes was pretty non-existent. So,
although it was on YouTube, apparently, for the first time, it was also being streamed on YouTube, which was interesting.
But from my perspective, I missed the first 2 goals and this incident. I mean, you've already answered. I was going to ask you because obviously I know you've got access to the wife who's the referee in the family. I was going to ask you the question, but you've already answered it, which is I was unsure whether I knew there was. It's 30 seconds, isn't it? It's supposed to be the allotted time. If a player,
but again, there's nothing in the rules that says that the player has to go off for 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. But
basically, the rule is that they're not allowed to be treated on the field.
Yeah.
But there are anti-time wasting measures that the referee can do, and it's recommended by the EFL for referees saying take them off for a period of time so that they feel there's a disadvantage there for them to waste time on the field. But it doesn't say a time, doesn't say how long it can be. It's down to the referee.
Well, I mean that's interesting because I always thought it was 30 seconds, but then
nope.
Again, likewise, I've never really thought about it until this kind of incident, and I think the reason why I've never thought about it is because what you've just said is an explanation there where really it's the referee's kind of unwritten rule to allow the player to come back on when they can enter the field without impacting the play. That's what you tend to see all the time. I.e. the referees are using common sense. The players are waved back on and then can't directly affect the move that's currently going on. So that's why I've probably never thought about it before. So you'd have to say in this instance, given that those are the rules, that the referee has made, basically lack of common sense, made a poor decision to allow her to come back on directly impact and influence the play that was going on at the time. So I can understand why the Wrexham players would be annoyed by that. But I suppose the difficulty you've got is if it's not an official rule and it's down to referee's discretion, then you're screwed, really, aren't you? Well,
it's interesting because they're talking in the news today. I was reading an article today basically saying about, obviously, we've seen a lot in all matches about goalkeepers going down at key moments with injuries.
Yeah,
and that means the teams can all go over. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And apparently now they are looking at rules to address that, which might mean, because at the moment, the 30-second rule you have to go off the field is exempt for goalkeepers, which is why goalkeepers do it, because they can do this, they can stop play, and there's no repercussions. So they're looking at, but I don't know, how would you do that? Because that basically means the referee would have to make a judgment. And they're not medical people, are they? They're referees.
Don't know. Go over to the goalkeeper. Are you dying? No. Okay, get up.
Get up, man.
I honestly, the only way I can see him doing it is like, like WWE style, where one of the wrestlers is choking out the other one, and the referee goes over and lifts their arm up and lets it drop to the floor. And if it drops 3 times, they're out. And then we might get goalkeepers then that when they drop it for the 3rd time, they let it go just above the floor, and then they give it. Come on.
I mean, maybe you should basically make a rule where you say players are not allowed to go over to their dugouts. No more than one player is allowed to go over to their dugout.
For me, I haven't really got too much of an issue with that element of it, because realistically, what impact is that going to have on the game? What I've got a bigger problem with the goalkeepers doing this now as a tactic, because it 100% that's what goalkeepers are doing. The reason why I've got an issue with it is because they've put the rule in for the 8 seconds kicking the ball out of their hands to try and speed the play up and to stop the old, catching it and then dropping to the floor dead slowly and then getting up dead slowly. So it's a form of time wasting, because no matter how long that goalkeeper goes down injured, you can guarantee that you won't get the same amount of time back in the game, because it never does. It never works like that. So that's my issue with it, is basically goalkeepers, teams, coaches, managers have found this loophole now as a way of wasting time. Because like you say,
what about having a stop clock like they do in rugby? So basically, every time there's a stoppage in play, the clock gets stopped, and you don't play any extra time. It goes to 90 minutes, and then that's the end. But at least it means that if the goalkeeper went down like this, the clock would get stopped. It doesn't matter how long they take; the clock would not start until play restarts.
To be fair, it's not. It's certainly something that should be considered. I guess trying to think of issues with that. Is there potential then that you could have players utilizing it to try and break up momentum, for example? That's what this does anyway, doesn't it? When the goalkeeper, I mean, I've seen it so many times where a team is absolutely battering a side, and then suddenly the keeper will go down, and that completely breaks the momentum of the attacking side. 100%. 100%. I'm just, all I'm saying is that your possible solution to the problem of, i.e., just stopping the clock if somebody's injured, makes a lot of sense. But what I'm saying is if you implemented that, what are then the potential downsides? Well, okay, you fix the problem of wasting time because you're not wasting any time because the clock stopped. But I could then foresee it being utilized more being used from like a tactical point of view for managers to be saying, we're under the cosh here, somebody needs to go down, and it's only going to then take 3 or 4 players to do that in a 10-minute window. And yes, you're not losing any time, but it's going to impact the way the game's. I don't know. I'm not sure. However, whatever they're looking at to try and stop the goalkeepers doing it will be interesting, because it's not an easy one. That because of unfortunately, you I don't know. Do you have a what's it called? Like where you have like a concussion substitute. Do you have a situation where your goalkeeper basically, your substitute goalkeeper basically has to try and stay warm all through the game, and somewhere on the side, and if your goalkeeper goes down injured, he has to come off the field and is replaced by the.
So not multi-ball, but multi-keeper. Is that what you're saying? It's multi-keeper. 5 of them, all in the goal. I agree. There's something that needs to be done, isn't it? But this was just unfortunate. It's one of those things. So it was 1-1. Then again, completely against the run of play. Aberystwyth managed to score again, a cross by Sarah Evans for Amy Jenkins to bundle it into the 6-yard box to put Aber in the lead. We've seen this type of goal happen before. It happened the week before, as in the attacker standing between the 2 centre-backs, just far off and out enough where Lizzie Craven isn't going to come out and attack you. And that's exactly what happened with this one. It kind of got to her, and then she kind of bundled it. She didn't even get a clean shot. It was kind of bundled in. Is this a problem? Should the centre-backs be actually body marking rather than trying to do more of a zonal marking thing where they're just marking an area?
It's a tricky one. I mean, you're right. It was a messy goal to concede from our point of view, and like you say, not the first time we've conceded such a goal. I think it shines a little bit of a spotlight on some of the, some of the kind of issues with like the goalkeeping positioning and stuff like that. It's one of those. I dare say that they will have analysed both of the goals and obviously the game as a whole at great length to try and alleviate this and to stop it happening again. But sometimes it happens. I think the bottom line is I think we were off it a little bit on Sunday. Generally, I think, to be fair, that's taking nothing away from Ava. I thought they were outstanding. Really, really gritty performance from them, and all credit to them. And I felt a little bit for them, if I'm being brutally honest. I thought they could go away probably feeling quite hard done by that they've lost that game, because I thought they really gave us a scare, and in a real perverse way. I think I don't actually think that game won't do us any harm. I think it'll do us quite a lot of good. I think we needed a game like that as a bit of a check, a bit of a reality check.
Absolutely. Well, Aberystwyth with a 2-1 in the lead. Their lead lasted 34 minutes. Wrexham corner cleared by Sian Evans to Maz Mahmood, who hit a superb 20-yard shot that drifted over the head of the Aberystwyth goalkeeper from long range. I mean, Maz has just won an award within the industry. I think it's for Muslim Sportswoman of the Year. I believe it is. Not much has been made from the club about it, which is a bit of a shame, really. But we've seen her do. She can do so many things. She can dribble. She can jink. She can come in from the sides. But her long shots are superb, aren't they?
Just cheat code. She's cheat code. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. Her, Katie Barker, Jodie Bartle, the three of them are at this level. They're just cheat codes, aren't they? She's got everything in her locker. She can run with the ball at pace. She's skillful. She's she's creative. She could score goals. She has the. How can I put this without getting cancelled? She has the ability to capitalize on the goalkeeping weaknesses we talk about in the women's game. We've spoken at length, and obviously when Daz is here, he goes in both feet of the goalkeepers. No, I'm joking.
Miss you, Daz.
Yeah, we miss you, Daz. We've talked, haven't we, before that without it's not being critical. It's just stating a fact that there is a grey area with the goalkeeping in women's football, and there is a spot, isn't there, where if you are an offensive or an outfield player, really, that should be where you're targeting all the time. And I think you see it a lot week in, week out in every game in the Genero League. But I think there's sometimes a world of difference between having the skill to actually find that gap and finding it by chance. But I think Maz Mahmood has definitely got the ability to be finding that gap when she wants to. But yeah, she's got it all, and she's a phenomenal player.
Well, 2-2 at half-time. Second half, 4 minutes in, it didn't take long. Cara Jones cross from the right of the box, taken on the chest and fired in by Rosie Hughes. I mean, Rosie this season has got her mojo back, to say the least. 2 goals this week, number of goals in the previous number of games. She just looks on fire, confident. I mean, we praised her last week because it was her 101st game to celebrate her 100th game. But I know we talk a lot, don't we, about Casey Barker and talk about Maz and talk about Abby Idenden when I can pronounce her name, and Ava Suckley. But surely she must be making a stake now to say to Jenny Sugarman, listen, I should be starting every week, not coming off the bench. I should be making, because I am making a difference. Surely there's an argument for this, isn't there?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure she will be of that opinion. I mean, I think from Jenny Sugarman's point of view, what a great problem to have. To have a stable of forwards to pick from that are all phenomenal players and all capable of changing a game. I mean, that second goal was superb. The technique was superb. The way she brought it down on her chest. Okay, the finish is pretty straightforward, but she's made the finish straightforward by the way she's controlled that ball. At any level, in any league, that was a superb bit of play. That was the way she controlled that ball on her chest, and a great finish. And yeah, like you say, to come away again from the game with 2 more goals. What more can she do? I think the one interesting thing for me from a striking point of view, you mentioned Katie Barker there before. I thought she was really quiet again in this game. And that's the second week on the trot. I think different scenarios. I think Swansea basically very much targeted her and marked her out of the game. Whereas with this, I just don't think the ball was really running for her. She didn't really have the opportunities to create any chances for herself like we've seen her do. I'm not, this is not panic stations or anything like that, or criticising her or anything like that. It's interesting, and I think the challenge is there for her now to try and get her mojo back and get back into scoring goals again, because the last couple of games she's not really been in the games, to be fair, which is unusual because it's not what we're used to seeing from her.
Yeah, I'm not absolutely. Wrexham continues to dominate, but couldn't find the net again. Substitutes came on, obviously. Particularly want to mention Faye Knox and Leah Burke. Leah Burke obviously making her third appearance this season, which is great. Faye Knox made a huge difference. Again, she's surely, Jamie, because she did make a massive difference. Suddenly the team became much more energised. Again, surely she's sort of saying to Jenny, "Come on, put me on, coach."
Yeah, I when we were talking about the starting lineup at the beginning, I was a little bit surprised she wasn't in the starting lineup, to be honest with you, because she played so well the previous game when she come on. Like with Rosie, you can't do any more, can you? If you are, for whatever reason, if you're selected on the bench and you have to come onto the pitch, all you can do is try and make your mark when you come on to do exactly what you've just said there, which is to basically put yourself back at the forefront of the manager's mind for the next game. And I think, that's what Rosie's done recently, probably hence why she was in the starting lineup this week. And Faye Knox has done the same again. She's electric pace. It's just crazy pace. But yeah, couldn't do any more than what she'd done, really, coming onto the pitch.
Well, the game finished 3-2 to Wrexham. I say Aber tried very, very hard, and Wrexham really had to, play well to beat them, which was great to see. Wrexham end the week still on top of the Genero Adran League, 5 points now ahead of Cardiff City after their game versus Britain Ferry. Llansamble was called off due to a waterlogged pitch. So 2 things here, Jamie. One, Wrexham's performance. It's going to be very, very difficult to win every single game in a season. It's these tough games, for me, that kind of make the team champions. Because we've seen it before in other teams who've ground out wins or close wins, but they've always managed to get the win to get to the top. I mean, is that what we're seeing with this Wrexham team this season?
It's, it's got the makings of that, hasn't it? You're right. Winning games like that on Sunday is what, when you look back over the course of a season, is what champions tend to do. They're still able to find a way when they're not playing at their best. Like I said before, I think taking nothing away from Aber, you've got to be, first and foremost, you've got to give them a huge amount of credit for the way they turned up and played. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't 2 fluky goals. Yes, there's some controversy over one of the goals and question marks from our perspective over the other, but you've got to be nothing but complimentary to the way they turned up and the way they played, and really gave us a game that I don't think anyone expected. No. But like I said before, I don't think this will do us any harm. I think this is probably in a real perverse way, it's probably a good thing, because it'll be a little bit of an eye opener, I think, particularly given take the Swansea game out of it, we've had some crazy big score lines in recent weeks, where not that I'm saying that these ladies let it go to their heads or anything like that, but human nature, isn't it? If you're rocking up every week and you're dismantling teams and you're absolutely destroying them, you're going to get a little bit complacent, no matter how much it's drilled into you to keep grounded and to keep doing the same things. There's just gonna naturally be an element of you're gonna get a little bit maybe overconfident or whatever word you want to use. I'm not saying that's what this Wrexham team is doing, but I think having a real gritty performance here where they've had to really, really dig deep and really earn the 3 points, excuse me, will hopefully be a good something. When we look back at the season, we'll look back on and say, do you know what, that was actually a really good 3 points. That was, and I guess the interesting thing will obviously be coming on this weekend, because we're playing them again. Okay, it's in the cup, but we're playing them again. It'll be interesting to see kind of how that game plays out, given how this one went, really. But no, like I say, winning is the most important thing. Doesn't matter how you do it. Winning is the most important thing. I think you have to give credit to the Wrexham camp from the perspective that they weren't at their best, but they've dug deep and they found a way.
The second point, so obviously looking at the table there, Wrexham now 5 points in the lead. All right, Cardiff have got a game in hand, but Cardiff, like us, have got Adran Trophy game versus Swansea City on Sunday. So that's a big game for them. Then they've got the Butte Energy FA Cup on the Sunday after, which will be against a lower league team. Then there's no games until the first game back after Christmas New Year is for us at the Cardiff City Stadium, which will be live on S4C. And we'll still be 5 points in the lead. I mean, from a mentality point of view, could that swing it? Because that's looking at that, even though you've got a game in hand that you haven't played yet, you will always have it's always points in the bag. You never really like having games in hand. Is that going to swing? Is that going to make a massive difference?
If it wasn't for the fact that their next league game is against us, I would have said that this would have been an advantage to us, because my opinion would have been, well, we've put the pressure on them now. Yes, they've got a game in hand, but as we well and truly know, games in hand don't mean nothing if you don't convert them into wins.
Yep.
And it would have put the pressure really back onto them. However, my opinion is, and this may differ from other people's opinions, and maybe even yours, but I actually think this is their game getting called off. I actually think is not the best thing for us, because I think what this does is this will give them a huge amount of motivation going into that game against us, because they will know that they can't afford to lose that game. Now, granted, that could and should give us some motivation as well going into that game of like, look, if we can come away from here without losing, given that we're going into it 5 points clear, we don't have to win the game, but we need to avoid losing it. I'm a bit unsure about who's going to have the bigger edge from it, if that makes sense. I think the interesting thing is with this is a lot of the time when you have this kind of scenario is you think to yourself, oh well, the home team is going to have an advantage because they'll have the crowd behind them and everything else, but they're not massively well supported, are they? So no. We'll probably have just as many fans. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly added some spice to that game, but it's one to look forward to for sure.
Wednesday then, and we all traipse up to the northeast of England to take on Hull City in the EFL Championship for a midweek game. Let's look at the lineup. Not much point because it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same as the 1-1 draw versus Preston. Jamie, were you surprised that he not rested anybody. He just basically put in the same 11 as he had on Saturday at Preston.
I was a little bit surprised, I'll be honest. I was surprised that Windass and O'Brien didn't start. I was also a little bit surprised that Doyle didn't start, to be honest with you. But it's one of them, isn't it? I suppose hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I think if we were sitting here and we'd have come away from there with a 1-0 win, we'd have said it was a masterstroke. I think it's hard to answer the question retrospectively, knowing what happened in the game, because it's so easy now for me to say, yeah, it was a terrible decision to go with the same 11. But genuinely, I was a little bit surprised there weren't 2 or 3 changes from that team against Preston.
Well, I don't know where to go with this one, to be brutally honest with you. I mean, I just did a small paragraph, so I'll just read it out. Goals for Hull on 10 minutes by Joseph and McBurney on 67 minutes. McBurney. Wrexham were awarded a penalty after Broadhead was judged to be fouled in the box. Kiefer Moore stepped up, but their goalkeeper saved it. Kiefer Moore also missed a sitter inside the box in the first half. Concord pulled off some fantastic saves, but apart from that, we were second best on the night. I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, I don't expect the team to win every week. I don't expect the team to draw every week, although we seem to be drawing a lot, which is a little bit concerning. Okay? I don't have any problem with that, right? It's the manner of the defeat that I have a problem with.
Yes.
Because you look at the stats there, 8 shots, 1 on target. Just 1. Yeah. And we were normally Wrexham kind of have a bad half and a good half. We can play well in the first half and maybe fall off in the second half, or vice versa. This objectively across the board was poor. It was poor choice of passing, poor choice of shots. We seemed very little energy. They were running all over us like a steamroller. They were getting to balls first. They were getting to second balls first. They were pressing hard and high. They seemed to have pace to burn. We just looked just tired and, just lack of thought or lack of, no, not thought, that's not fair. Just lack of energy and just lack of, it's like they didn't want, it's not that they didn't want to be there, just, they were never going to win. They were never, ever going to win from the first 2 minutes because they just looked off the boil and very set. It's the worst, I think. I don't want to take it to the Cardiff City side because Cardiff City, I was upset because it was Cardiff and the manner of the performance. I'm a little bit more relaxed about this one because it's Hull and kind of you're thinking, well, Hull, they've got Premiership, prodigy and, they've got decent players and all this kind of stuff. I accept that and that's fine. But this was by far the worst performance I've seen us do in a long time. And it was very disappointing to say the least. Over to you, mate, because
I think to be fair, you've, that is it's a superb little 90-second summary, what you just said there. I think, before I say anything about the game, let's put some context into it first and foremost, from the point of view that let's acknowledge the fact that we were on a 9-game unbeaten run in the Championship, which is phenomenal.
Yep. Yep. Superb.
This is, before anybody starts giving me pelters for anything I'm about to say, all this is a comment on the game in isolation. I am not being critical of anything else. We're having a phenomenal season. We're probably well ahead of where we thought we would be, our expectations. Exactly like you've just said. I have no expectation that we are going to win every week and draw every week.
So not parking out then, is that what you're saying?
No, not parking or parky out. No, I'm not starting that movement. No. But as much as I don't expect them to win every week or draw every week, what I do expect is a certain level of performance. And exactly like you've just said, that was the issue for me.
Yep.
That was the biggest issue for me. You said it there and then corrected yourself because you'd heard what you said about it looked like they weren't asked. And then you corrected yourself because you didn't want to say those words because you know that's not the case. But you're absolutely right. That's what it looked like. It looked like, and I don't believe for a second that they weren't arse, but that's what it looked like. Let's be, let's be honest, right? Hull were brilliant. They were far better than us.
Absolutely.
But let's be honest. They weren't amazing. They weren't an amazing side. They just were better than us, significantly better than us at the fundamentals and the basics. Everything you said before was spot on. The way they pressed us was night and day difference. The speed in which they moved the ball was night and day difference. The efficiency in which they moved the ball from back to front was night and day difference. I think from our perspective, it was interesting. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about Dan Scarr and Doyle and all that jazz. And I think I said it on here rather than talking to somebody privately, but I'm sure I said it on here. Is that I think it felt a little bit. No, I did say it on here because I remember using Mark Howard as the reference, but it felt a little bit to me like Parky was going to need to wait for a reason to change it. And I think that game was his reason. I mean, he made the change at halftime. And incidentally, when Doyle came on in the second half, he made a difference down that left-hand side. But the most noticeable thing that he gives us is his passing ability. He made 3 or 4 passes that were just superb from your central defender. Granted, we couldn't do anything with it beyond him, but at least he made the passes. But I think that defensively, I think we were terrible. Dom Heim had an awful game, his worst game for us so far.
Yep.
Max looked very shaky. Dan Scarr looked completely off it, hence him getting hooked at half time. But this. I'll be honest with you. I understand your thought process about this maybe didn't bother you as much as the Cardiff one because it was Cardiff. I slightly disagree with you, to be honest with you. I was as annoyed about this performance as I was about the Cardiff one because it smelt the same to me.
Which one was worse for you? Which performance was worse? Of Wrexham performance?
I would say this one was worse because this game. The reason I would say this is worse is because this contained what you would consider our strongest side subject to injuries, whereas we made a lot of changes for that Cardiff game. Where I'm going with this is I think all of the players had a terrible night, but I think this is that whole thing of having to win together and lose together. The whole management team and coaching team need to take that on the chin. And I think, to be fair to Parky, in his post-match interview that I saw, I don't think it was the club one I saw. I think it was the one on Sky. He did kind of acknowledge that without saying the words, he did kind of acknowledge that he needed to look at himself as well, because what he was alluding to was that I think he felt he made some wrong decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why on earth we didn't make a change to the midfield until 65 minutes is beyond me.
Yeah.
Like I was saying when I was talking about the Preston game, and this was 10 times worse. From an offensive point of view, we looked god awful. We looked so like we absolutely nothing, no threat whatsoever.
Broadhead needs to stop falling so far back because he's not supporting Kiefer at all because he's too far back. He wants to come in from the halfway line. He doesn't want to stick in the final third. The
problem is, obviously, we're not privy to it, so we don't know. What I'd be interested to know about that is he dropping back through instruction or is he dropping back through frustration? That's the interesting thing. Without knowing the answer to that, it's hard to say where the criticism lies, because if he's being told to drop back to basically try and be a link between midfield and the front, then he's only doing what he's told, but that's not his game. If he's doing it out of frustration because he wants to get on the ball, then that's a bigger problem that comes back to the whole argument about where he fits into this system, because it's not his game. He is not as good as he is or can be. He has not got the ability to drop into the midfield, to pick the ball up and then carry it, beat 2 or 3 players and carry it forward. So he's getting lost in games. I mean, that performance last night from him in particular. I mean, I've tried to defend him quite a bit since he's come to the club, but he was terrible, I thought, last night. I mean, he epitomised everything I've just said about, the way they played the game, the demeanour, the body language. Josh Windass was another one when he came off. He looked... His body language, to me, looked like a player who's pissed off that he's been dropped.
It's J-Rod. When I watched him, I just thought of a lot of the time we watched J-Rod at the end of last season, as in somebody who really does not want to be there.
The frustrating thing is that this is, we get these performances, don't we? And then it brings back to the forefront all the kind of all the question marks which we ask from time to time about the mentality and what are these players, what are they like as a collective, as a group, and everything else. It was just such a bad performance. However, as much as you say that, we had 2 unbelievable chances that, if either of those go in, potentially change the game completely. I mean, both of them key for more. The first one, how on earth he misses the target from there is beyond me.
Panics.
I mean,
looks like he panics.
When I watched the replay, I had to press the pause button to see whether his boot had been replaced for a shovel, because it was harder to put it wide than it was to hit the target. I suppose it's one of those that you have to just say, it happens, doesn't it? If you give him that in training 100 times, he scores 99 of them. And it just so happens the one he misses was that one. But an unbelievable miss for a player that's scored 8 league goals this season. You'd expect him to bury that chance, and if he buries that, I think it's a different game. And then to get the penalty, which absolutely was a penalty. And I mean, just on penalties, I think if we're being fair and we're being honest, we were lucky not to have one given against us with the Dom Heim
with the handball.
That for me was a penalty. So we've been lucky to get away with that one. But the one we were given was absolutely a penalty. As much as I've said there about Broadhead and the fact that I thought he was poor, that little run was a reminder of what he's capable of, and this is what he can do. He has got that ability. Absolutely a penalty. I was a little bit surprised when Kiefer took it, to be honest with you, because I mean,
well, Josh Windass has been taken, hasn't he? But he was on the field at that point, so
yeah, he has. But I don't know. Does Kiefer take penalties? I don't. I mean,
well, he's missed 3 he's now missed 3 of his last 4 penalties. Yeah. Apparently, according to what they said.
It was a terrible penalty as well. It was a terrible penalty. I'm not even going to give credit to the goalkeeper as a good save. It was a terrible penalty.
I'm always having difficulty because I'm kind of like, if they get it on target, then it's up to the goalkeeper to make a great save. But it was very close to the goalkeeper, and he went the right. I mean, if he went the right way, so that helps you. That's 50-50 out of the way straight away.
The height it was at, and the where he placed it. It was just it was a terrible penalty, but it just summed up. It just summed up the night.
I need to ask you because you're you say it a lot. You're one of the. You've said this a load. You've said this a load, and so I need to get your opinion on this. You've said how important our wing-back system is in our game in particular. Last night we played with 2 League One wing-backs, and they played for us at wing-backs, including one who's hardly played at all in the last few months, and they looked poor last night. I thought Barney. He stopped trying to get past his man. He had no chance last night because he shut him down last night. And the same with Maka. Maka was a little bit more successful, but nowhere near what they both need to be for the system that we rely on so heavily to work. And obviously with Kapori and Kakache out for goodness knows how long. Is this going to become a serious problem as we go into a really, really busy period to rely on players who basically are not up to the job?
Potentially. it's got the potential to. It's got the potential to, unfortunately, bring back to the forefront the whole lack of flexibility in our the way we play. Look, I'm not opening Pandora's box on that again at this moment in time. You know my feelings on that. The bottom line is, Parky has a way of playing, and that's his method. That's how he chooses to play, and it's fundamentally it's his decision to do that. But obviously, we've got to have the players to play in that system, and I think the wing back is such a crucial part of the way we play, particularly given the way that wing back feeds our only real goal machine in Kiefer Moore. Exactly like you've just said, if your wing backs are not up to the task, it's going to be a struggle. With the greatest respect, I think this is a level too far for Barney. He's proven, hasn't he? He is much better than National League. He's much better than very comfortable League Two, and can do it in League One. He did it for certainly the first quarter of the season and then tailed off, but it proved he could do it at that level. I just don't think at this. I just don't think he's got the ability at this level, to be honest with you. I think of what we've got available, I think you have to go with Longman. I think he's closer to a Championship wing back than Barney is. The problem on the left is, I love James McLean to bits. I think he's I like his kind of what he brings to the team and to the club as a personality, and his experience, and as a player, what he's achieved is phenomenal. But again, although he's had some good games recently, he looks like he's falling a bit short game after game after game, which is, unfortunately what you need. And that's, Christ, nobody can criticise his fitness level. He's like a machine. But there's a world of difference between being physically fit and being able to knock 7 bells out of a punch bag for however long he does every day, but then playing a competitive, 3 competitive 90 minutes in the Championship every week is very, very different. The bottom line is that with Kabore and Crackers, those, like I said before, those two they are a significant jump in quality as a wing back than anything else we've got. And when neither of those are available, more often than not, like I say, we have had some good games recently, but more often than not, it's going to highlight a problem. And I think that's what we saw it against Preston, certainly saw it against Hull. But to be fair to the wing backs in this from the whole game, I honestly don't think you could pick anybody out of that team that come out of it with any real credit.
Maybe Arthur. I think Arthur kept the score down because he made some fantastic saves. I'd say of the 11 who started, probably he's the only one. I mean, it could get worse as well with Kabore, couldn't it? Because he's been announced in the preliminary AFCON. AFCON squad for Burkina Faso. So
we won't see him probably till the end of January. Bizarrely, looking at FOTMob's ratings, our 3 best players according to FOTMob were Nathan Broadhead was best, Arthur was second, and Dom Heim was third.
Wow.
So, however they work these ratings out, or whoever works these ratings out, I'm guessing must be related to Stevie Wonder.
I guess so.
But yeah, not good. For me, the only real, like I say, the only positive for me, Arthur, you're right, I think deserves some credit because again, he kept us in the game. For me, I think Doyle, I think showed us it when he came on at halftime. What he gives us. I fully expect him to be in the starting lineup for Saturday. But look, like I say, let's not dwell on it too much. It was a terrible, piss poor performance. The biggest issue is not losing; it's the manner in which we lost. That's the biggest issue. We've said it a million times.
I wanted to point out just 2 things. One, Smith obviously came on, to try and bolster up front, keeping the other two still in there, but didn't make any impact at all. How much are we missing Stephen Fletcher?
It's hard, isn't it? Because you're painting a picture in my head there of Stephen Fletcher and what he did for us last season. Could he still do that in the Championship? That's the problem. A couple of weeks ago, we had this conversation, and I was thinking to myself, I mean, don't get, again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think, given where we're at, I would rather have kept Stephen Fletcher for another season than got Ryan Hardy, if I'm being honest with you. I think Fletcher could have given us more as a 15-minute option in games, even at this level, than Ryan Hardy's given us so far. But that's easy for me to say now. It's a hard one to answer because I don't know whether Stephen Fletcher would have given us the same at this level as he gave us last year. I think the bigger problem is the fact that you've got a feel for Sam Smith. I mean, he's gone from coming in January, like a knight in shining armor. Him and J-Rod come in, and probably with a difference in us getting over the line and getting promotion.
Absolutely, we're.
He's finished the season on an absolute high, thinking to himself, I'm gonna get to test myself at Championship level. And yes, he's next in line, you would say, but he's being given no chance, absolutely no chance. Because when he's coming on in games, he's coming on with very little time to go. And ultimately, he's being asked basically just to replace Kiefer Moore. The system doesn't change. The way we play doesn't change. We're asking him to just play the same way. And you've said it before, he's not Kiefer Moore. He's not going to give you the same as Kiefer Moore can give you.
No.
So I feel for him. I really feel for him. But I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when, I'm going to guess they've had a team meeting, or when they have a team meeting. I'd love to be a fly on the wall because I'd be very interested to see what is said by Parkin and the coaches and the players themselves. Because the problem is a performance like that, similar to the Cardiff ones, from a fan's perspective, what it does is it sends you away thinking, are they bothered? And I know they are bothered.
Of course they are.
But that's how it makes you feel, because you think to yourself, you've all shown nothing in that game, but as if you wanted to try and get back into it. And then when you have a one or two in there where you really do question their kind of levels of commitment, that's not a good look, that. And you can only base it on what you can see.
Absolutely. And I think we should say that, Wrexham is still, they dropped down to 14th, but they're still only 4 points off the playoffs. The league is so tight. My fear is we've seen Charlton drop away in the last 4 or 5 matches, and now they're tumbling down the league.
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
I'm not being all doom and gloom. And it's important we say that as a pod.
Absolutely.
We still think Wrexham are doing far better than I thought they ever were going to do. And it's brilliant. It's just, you can only go off your last performance. It's like it's like an actor. You can only go off your last performance. And unfortunately, the performance on Wednesday was incredibly poor.
Yeah.
We just got to hope, haven't we, really, that there is going to be a reaction like there was after the Cardiff game. Yeah.
Charlton is a great example to use. I was chatting to the missus. I said exactly the same thing to her. And funny enough, it was when we beat them, that was the start of their downfall. But when they came into that game, they were 5th or 6th, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
and then,
something
like you say, look at them now; they're like 17th or something. So, as much as we've all been getting excited about being touching distance to the playoffs, we're also touching distance to the other end as well. And it only takes a few bad performances, and unfortunately, a performance like this means we have this kind of conversation, which is fair enough, because when you've played that badly, you think to yourself, oh Christ, if we play like that again the next couple of games, then it's gonna be a problem. If it's a one-off, then okay, fair enough. It's just that consistency, isn't it? That's the problem. It's the consistency. You said what you said before was a great way of putting it, really, which is, mostly this season, in most games, certainly league games, we've had at least a half where we've performed. there's maybe been one half where we've been DOS, but we've been good in the other half or whatever. In the league, there hasn't really been a game where we've just literally not turned up from start to finish. This was the first one. Look, if this is the first one and the only one, so be it. If we lose the next 3 games, will I be bothered? Not at all. As long as we perform, we play better, and we look like we are. If we lose the next 3 games, we lose the next however many games because we're beaten by better teams, so be it. But if we lose the next 3 games because we performed as bad as we did against Hull, then yeah, that's a problem.
Now in the Much Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham Academy drew 2-2 away at Bolton Wanderers Youth, coming from 2-0 behind. Wrexham goals by Oliver McTweed and Alex Moore. Wrexham are at home on Saturday, 13th December, versus Blackpool Youth. After their victory in round 3 of the FA Youth Cup versus Port Vale, Wrexham have drawn Southend United or Swindon Town away in round 4, the game to be played on the 24th of January 2026. Wrexham under-19s women beat Connors Quay Nomads under-19s 10-1. 10-1 at the Rock. 5 goals by Grace Morris, plus goals by Bella Riley, Anna Jones, Sienna Perry, Caitlin Gerrard and Tilly Ashworth. That puts Wrexham top of the Genero Adran under-19s North League by goal difference. Cymru have discovered their 2026 FIFA World Cup schedule should they qualify for next summer's tournament in North America. To reach the FIFA World Cup, Cymru will have to play Bosnia-Herzegovina in the semi-final on Thursday, 26th of March, and they will meet then either Italy or Northern Ireland should they progress to the final, which will be played on Tuesday, the 31st of March. Should they manage to win in those 2 games, Craig Bellamy's side will face host Canada in the first match of the tournament on Friday, June the 12th. Kick-off at 8 o'clock BST, which is a fairly decent time, at the Toronto Stadium, in a match that will also involve an opening ceremony for the tournament. Cymru's second match would be against Switzerland, a side they faced in Euro 2020 finals in Baku. The match will take place at the Los Angeles Stadium on Thursday, the 18th of June. Kick-off again 8 o'clock p.m. at BST. And the final group match would then take place on on Wednesday, the 24th of June. Kick-off again 8 p.m. at BST. All 3 times the same, which is great. Seattle State, that'll be the Seattle Stadium against Qatar, the 22 FIFA World Cup hosts. FIFA World Cup 2026 has been hosted across Canada, Mexico, and USA, and kicks off on the Thursday, 11th of June at Mexico City Stadium with Mexico versus South Africa. And the final will take place Sunday, the 19th of July at New York's Jersey Stadium. Trying not to get too ahead of ourselves, because Bosnia is going to be a tough game, and then it's probably going to be Italy. We're going to have to play at the Cardiff City Stadium, which takes me back a bit. But, Jamie, Toronto, Los Angeles, and Seattle, 3 great cities. The problem that I have with this one is the ticket prices. Because I don't know whether you've seen in the media recently, the cheapest ticket for the final, very, very cheapest ticket for the final, if you can get hold of it, is over $3,000 for the cheapest ticket. And often a lot of the ticket costs are $350 plus, going into the thousands. I mean, that's not sustainable, surely. Who in their right mind can afford to go and support a team at that level?
Well, and as well, what you've got to take into account is travel costs, probably inflated accommodation costs.
It's a 5-day drive from, I think it's from Los Angeles to Seattle. I think it's like a 5-day drive or something crazy like that. You know,
the problem
it's $100 to park your car for the day. They're talking about.
That sounds like parking in the university. That the problem is that from a spectacle as a fan, you know, whether you're neutral, whether you're just watching it as a football fan, I've got a funny feeling it's going to be a little bit of a farce. In that, certainly at the group stages, you're going to potentially be in a situation where you're going to have lots of games where there'll be loads of empty seats, because you know, when you've got two, I'm not going to name 2 nations, but if you've got 2 pretty average nations playing each other in a group game at 3 o'clock local time kickoff on a Tuesday in a 50,000 capacity stadium somewhere, and the tickets are as priced like they are, you and I both know that what's going to happen.
They'll be scrambling to fill the seats when it looks on telly.
Sadly, the whole system or the whole setup is just flawed, isn't it? It's flawed. It's not, football needs to be affordable for people. I mean, having a competition split across 3 nations is crazy in itself. It's just very, very similar to what we talked about at domestic level, when these corrupt bigwigs at the top of the tree of these organizations think of these stupid ideas. They don't think about the fan. All they're interested in is money. And I read something the other day about this, that they've officially announced that in all World Cup games there's going to be a break in each half, a water break, regardless of whatever the temperature is. There's going to be a break. And as soon as I read that, all I could think to myself was, no, what this is it's a commercial break.
Yeah, advertising.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, Christ, even if Wales do qualify and get there,
don't get me wrong. It would be a dream for me to be able to go to America, to be able to go to Los Angeles. I've never been to Los Angeles. I'd love to go to Los Angeles and watch Switzerland versus Wales.
You're way too fat and ugly to go to Los Angeles. They'll never let you in there in a million years.
But am I going to spend $6,000 plus to go and watch one game of football? No.
Ludicrous.
Not in a million years. Because I can't justify it. No. I can't justify spending $6,000.
No.
What would cost me to, I got a quote to redo our bathroom. It's cheaper than that. To go and watch 90 minutes of football, no, I can't justify it. I'm just glad about the times. I was looking at Scotland's games. 2 of Scotland's games in the opening group at 2 o'clock in the morning, British Standard Time.
I must admit,
there's not going to be a lot of work going on in Scotland, is there? Because they're going to be pissed up through the night, and so many people are going to phone in sick because that's the problem.
I was going to say that our the 3 group games that we would be involved in if we get there are all 8 o'clock kickoffs.
Exactly, perfect. Yeah. I think Scotland's are, one is 11 o'clock at night, and then the other 2 are 2 o'clock in the morning. Poor buggers.
It's just a shame, isn't it? I think the way in which the logistics are all put together is just.
I was reminded today that arguably one of Scotland's greatest ever managers, Jock Stein, said, "Without the fans, football is nothing." And I think the governing body need to understand that and realise that, because to be pricing it this high, it's poor. And don't get me wrong, you can't even say, to be brutally honest with you, for the fans who live in America, Canada, and Mexico, because it's still those ticket prices are still out of the reach of many of them, I'm sure. And please feel free to comment if you think I'm wrong. If you think I'm saying, oh, actually, no, those ticket prices are really good. Please tell us. But I just think it's wrong. Football should be affordable for everyone. They're getting enough money from sponsorship, because don't tell me they're not, because I know they are. These big companies line up to sign sponsorship deals for FIFA. In fact, I don't know if you saw that. Who was doing the draw?
Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah, no. One of the actors who was doing a draw. One of the actors who was doing a draw was wearing a jumper that had a pattern on it, and was quite prevalent. And unfortunately, what they didn't realize was the pattern was actually the logo of the company, and they got free advertising from it, which is perfect. And apparently, because they were told that they weren't allowed to wear anything recognizable, and he snuck it through because the pattern didn't look like a recognizable logo. It was quite random, but it was their logo, so got free advertising, which is great. So yeah, don't tell me they're not getting any money from sponsors. They are, right? And I understand the overheads are big because there's a lot of logistical things to go around, but there's expenses, and there's profit, and there's disgusting profit. And I think for me, this is just too much.
But don't do it in the first place. That's the thing. Don't if you can't put the tournament on in a cost-effective manner, don't do it like that in the first place. I like you say, it's a great point. Football without fans is nothing. And go back to those horrible days. I mean, you speak to any player who had to play through the COVID days. That must have been horrible to have played. As a professional, to have to play in that kind of environment. But it just makes no logical sense to me why you've split it across 3 big countries as well. This is not like as if you've got 3 neighbouring European countries which are all within quite close proximity. 3 massive countries here. Like you say, it takes forever to travel across America and Canada and things. I don't know. I just have this horrible feeling that when we're watching this tournament next year, we're going to be watching a lot of the games and there'll be big gaping gaps in the crowds. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, let's hope that Wales can get there.
We're going to do that first, aren't we? Cymru Under-19s women successfully retained their place in League A for the 2025-26 UEFA Women's Under-19s Euro Round 2 qualifiers after producing a series of impressive performances in the opening round. Nia Davis's squad began their road to Bosnia and Herzegovina with 3 Round 1 fixtures against elite opposition, matches that determined their league position for Round 2 in February. Having preserved their League A status back in April by finishing runners-up to France internationally, the objective this time was to do the same, a challenge which they met successfully. Hosting a League A Group 7 mini tournament, Cymru opened the campaign with a hard-fought 0-0 draw against Finland at Dragon Park, despite playing more than an hour with 10 players following the first half red card for goalkeeper Caddy Rogers. Davis's young side showed superb resilience and even created chances to take all 3 points. Their second match delivered a standout performance as Cymru claimed an impressive 3-1 victory over Turkey, a result that mathematically confirmed their League A place for February. Turkey struck early with a second half through Yaren Erzin, but Cymru responded superbly. Fionn Bowen celebrated scoring her team's first goal during the 2025-26 UEFA European Women's Under-19s Championship Round 1 fixtures. Fionn Bowen levelled the score 11 minutes later, finishing from close range after excellent play by Amelie Curtis. And just 2 minutes after equalising, Charlotte Salisbury-Williams capitalised on a defensive error to fire Cymru in front. With the momentum fully behind them, Emily Cole sealed the win with 3 minutes from time, cutting in from the left and powering a shot into the roof of the net, her first of 2 goals during the international window. Cymru rounded off their campaign with a 3-1 defeat to eventual group winners France. Cole netted her second goal in consecutive games, but it wasn't enough as France secured the victory with strikes from Romain Rafalinski, Justine Rouquet and Anis Ebielsin. I can't even say that. Cymru will learn their round 2 opponents on December the 11th, so that's tonight or today. So I've not looked it up yet, but those fixtures determine the 7 teams who will join Bosnia and Herzegovina in next summer's finals. And the finals draw will be held on April 22nd, with the tournament taking place from between the 27th of June and 10th of July. We're always looking, obviously, at the senior women, and we're saying, where the next player is going to come from. The fact that the under-19s now have maintained their league status, so they've not just done League A once, they've maintained it, and they're really kind of knocking on that door. That's got to be a good thing for the national side, surely, isn't it?
Yeah, on the face of the fact that they are, like you say, not just they're not just qualified for Group A, but they've stayed in there. Would suggest that they are a pretty good side, which, like you say, is a good thing for the future. Tough one to really give a lot of context to, because it's not a level that I watch at all, to be honest with you. But like you say, we have questioned and we have asked the questions about the kind of production line. Horrible way of putting it, but you know what I mean. The production line of players to come through and to keep feeding the senior team, particularly with some the kind of high profile names that have retired or finished or moved on or whatever. So yeah, if there are some gems in there that are performing well, then yeah, it can only be a good thing for the future for the senior team.
And we heard this week the new owners of Atletico Madrid have been confirmed as minority investors in Wrexham AFC, according to the BBC Wales Sports website. Apollo Sports Capital, or ASC, last month became majority shareholders of Spanish giants Atletico, with the deal set to be formalised in the new year. They have now opted to inject cash into Wrexham in a deal that will see the club's celebrity figureheads Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack still remain as controlling owners of the Championship club. There are no details on the amount of investment or the shareholding as acquired by ASC, although it is thought to be a less than a 10% stake. The move will also provide further financing for ongoing developments, such as the club's Stoke Kairas home, which includes the COP. And in a joint statement, Reynolds and Mack said the dream has always been to take this club to the Premier League while staying true to the town. Growth like that takes world-class partners who shares our vision and ambition, and Apollo certainly absolutely does that. The ASC chief executive, Al Tillis, is known to both Reynolds and Mack from other investments that include small ownership in Mexican club Necaxa. Tillis was appointed in September as a part of Apollo's expansion into sport. The parent company claims to have more than $900 billion or £675 billion of assets under management, with plans set out to invest $5 billion or £3.75 billion in the sporting sector. It's the second time the Hollywood pair have invited a minority investment since 2021, after the arrival of the Allen family in October 2024, who acquired a stake of around 15% in the North Wales club. ASC's chief strategy officer, Sam Porter, is a former director at Swansea City. Interesting one, this, Jamie. Depending on which side of the fence you look, obviously, great that there's more people investing. Apollo Sports Capital does have some shadows that some people have questioned with regards to what they've done and how they've spent the money and what they're actually doing with it, which is interesting. Plus, obviously, you get a little bit scared when you see other people coming in and taking controlling stakes of our club, because we've been there and done that, and it's very quickly how this dance can change into the wrong people running the club. Are you concerned in any way, or is this what we need to do to progress the club further?
So who are we signing in January, Haaland or Mbappe? This came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah.
Look, when you get over the initial eye-watering amount of money that this company has, investments and things, and like you say, the fact they're going to be the new owners of Atletico Madrid and things like that, it's the figures are eye-watering, just mind-boggling.
$900 billion.
The numbers are eye-watering, aren't they? Absolutely eye-watering. When I did a bit of reading on them, like you said, their shadows is a good way of putting it. I kind of picked up on some myself, where I kind of read a few little slightly concerning articles and things like that. But when I was a little bit dubious initially from the point of view of, unlike the Allen family, where we've learned about them.
Fallen on our feet with that one.
We've learned about them, though, haven't we? In the sense of, yes, they have got huge resources and they've got huge, but there's something different about them. And when it was announced, we were probably all a little bit skeptical. But then once we learned a bit more about them and what they're about and who they are and their what they do, you kind of thought, yeah, that makes sense. I can understand why Rob and Ryan have chosen them as partners, because they fit the jigsaw of what we're about. My concern with the Apollo one is that it's just a faceless company who see an opportunity to make money. That's how it feels a little bit, and maybe I'm being a bit disrespectful to people involved.
Well, it's better than a hedge. It's better than a hedge fund, because hedge funds will put their money into anything.
Yeah.
They don't care. They just want to make money, and they don't care how they do it. At least with Apollo Sports Capital, it's sports. They're just putting their money into sports. So that's slightly better.
The only one thing I would say about this is probably, I think I said something similar when we had this conversation when the Allen investment was initially announced. I think Rob and Ryan have more than earned our trust. And my opinion at the moment is, if they think this is the best thing for Wrexham Football Club, then they have my trust. And yes, I'm always like you described there, because of what we've been through in the past. I'm always going to be a bit skeptical and a bit pessimistic with things like this. And yes, it makes me nervous, and it's a bit of a concern for what might be and what could happen. But I ultimately always come back to the same thing, which I think the bottom line is that we have to put our trust in Rob and Ryan and their methods and the way that they're choosing to do these things. And if they believe that this is the best option for Wrexham Football Club, then we have to trust them. I think at the end of the day, the most important things at this stage, one is that they remain controlling interest, which I think is very, very important. I think the day where we get to a situation where they're no longer majority holders, that then is more of a cause for concern. But I still think we're probably some way off that, because, like you say, if the Allens is 15%, and even if these Apollos is 10%, there's maybe another 10% to other different places, they still have a significant majority. So I think we're probably a long way off that yet, but that would be a concern. So the fact that they remain majority is key for me. But above all else, it's investment, isn't it? It's money coming into the football club, which, wherever that's being utilised, as much as we keep joking about the fact that we've got this XYZ revenue and record turnover, and we've got this, that, and the other. This gig is not going to be cheap. It's going to keep getting it more and more expensive. I should think what the wage bill is now. For example, you think about what these players that we've brought in, spent 30 million quid. All the additional infrastructure we've put in place with new personnel we've brought in behind the scenes, the COP, which is costing an eye-watering amount of money, and then you're going to regenerate other parts of the ground. We're still looking for a training ground. There's all the work on the rock, and it just keeps on and on and on. So having investment and money coming in is crucial, isn't it? So Absolutely. the fact that this is bringing in investment can only be a good thing, because I think it's all too easy to forget. There's so much going on. Not just on the pitch. There's so much going on around the football club, all of which is going to cost a shitload of money. So we need this investment. So I'm not overly concerned about it. I suppose it'll be interesting to see, won't it, in the coming months and years, how it all levels out.
Can you smell that? Nope, it's not the drains, so it must be time for the chip shop. Jamie is eager to please, but best serve some chips first, I guess, Jamie. Let's look at last week's prediction, shall we? And somebody's very happy. Yes, that's me, because I scored my first bullseye of the season, predicting correctly a 1-1 draw at Preston North End. Unfortunately, Daz and Jamie both went the other way, and they get absolutely nothing, which is great. Wrexham versus Aberystwyth. We all went heavy. In the end, it was 3-2. So we all get a win, but no bullseye. And then Hull City versus Wrexham, we were all way off. Jamie and Daz predicted a draw. I predicted a Wrexham win.
Yeah, so you've had a good week, you have.
I've had a cracking week, because I've managed to pull 2 points closer to Daz, and he doesn't want to lose to me. He doesn't want to come bottom to me, because that would be terrible for him. So, but 2 points closer to you and Daz. You two maintain your lead, Jamie, by 6 points. But now you're only 8 points ahead of me. I'm coming for you. Just be careful, because I'm coming for you. So, first is the Friar tonight. It's Watford. Watford are one of the most well-known clubs in England, primarily for the links with lifelong supporter Sir Elton John. He became club chairman. He became club chairman in 1976, stepping down in 2002, but is still honorary president. You never know; he might be there on Saturday. Who knows? They were regulars in the old Division 1 in the 80s, the top league, but started to falter and have been flitting around the Premiership and the Championship for the last 25 years. Last year in the Championship, they finished 14th with 16 wins, 9 draws, 21 losses, a goal difference of -8 and 57 points. This summer, they spent just under £6 million buying right winger Nestoroi Irankunda from F Bayern 2, right back Jeremy Petris from Belgian club R Charleroi SC, and right winger Otame Mama. Seriously, that's how it's spelled. Maamma. Mama. From Montpellier. This season, Watford are continuing along the same lines as last season, currently 11th in the table with 7 wins, 7 draws, 6 losses, a goal difference of +2 and 28 points, 3 points off the playoffs. Their last 5 results: a 3-2 win away at Derby County, a 1-1 draw at home to Preston North End, a 2-1 loss away at Birmingham City, a 3-2 win at home to Norwich City, and a 1-1 draw at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Wrexham and Watford have met previously 20 times, with Wrexham winning 7, drawing 4, losing 9. Their last meeting was in League 2, Division 2 in April 1998 at Vicarage Road, where Wrexham lost 1-0. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, hoping we get to see a reaction after Hull. Let's hope so. But Watford are a weird one because they, again, another hot and cold side. I mean, drawing 1-1 at home Sheffield Wednesday. The last game, that was a shock for me. Losing to Birmingham City, but managed to draw with Preston North End, which we did. So, what? We're back at the Stoke House, which is good, but they're a good side, aren't they, Watford?
Yeah, I just don't want to be, candle in the wind going down that yellow brick road. I mean, we need to make some sacrifices.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good.
I was just trying to think of some.
I get those references, unlike the Ed Sheeran ones. I get those ones because I know his songs. Yeah. So but remember, Saturday night's all right for fighting, so it should be good. Should be a good game.
Good song.
Thank you.
I might start doing that. Actually, I might start seeing if I can drop in song titles into the pod each week and see how many you can get. Good. Do you know what? I think on paper, this is 2 very well matched sides. If you look at league positions, if you look at performances and results, if you look at kind of goals scored, goals against, predicted, average goals conceded and average goals per match, very, very similar. You look at their results, and like you say, poor. They're no disrespect to Sheffield Wednesday, but a poor. You'd have to say a poor result that they've drawn at home to Sheffield Wednesday in the last game. But then equally went away and drew at Ipswich, drew to Bristol, beat Derby, drew with Preston. So I don't think they're not going to be a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. I think when you look at their results, they kind of epitomise what 98% of this league is about, which is literally week in, week out, any team can beat any team. It's crazy, but on paper, it should be a very even game. But like you just said a second ago, I think from our perspective, above all else, it's we want to see a reaction, don't we? We want to see just a better performance. Like I said before, genuinely, if we lose this game, I won't care. Yes, I'll obviously be disappointed, but I won't care. If we lose this game, I won't be bothered in the slightest. If we've lost this game because we've been beaten by a better team, that's the mentality I've got. If we lose this game because we play as dog shit as we did against Hull, then I'd be annoyed. So yeah,
you want to see a reaction? I've just watched a TikTok by Hull City where basically they just take the piss out of Kiefer Moore, calling him Employee of the Month because and basically he's 2 misses, and that's come from the official TikTok account of Hull City. Nice. So if you're not going to get a reaction from that, boys, then you're never going to get a reaction because that's very insulting. You get it. You understand it from fans. Yeah, and you accept it from fans. But official club stuff is naughty. That's naughty.
Yeah, there's some lines you shouldn't cross, and that's one of them, isn't
it?
Absolutely. But like I said before, I'd be fascinated. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they get to whenever they've got together to discuss the whole game, because I'd love to see. I mean, it was interesting today. Obviously, James McLean put something on his Instagram. At the end of the day, words mean nothing without actions. But it was something that he put something along the lines of kind of acknowledging the fact that they were all well under par and they needed a reaction on Saturday. So you just hope that that's what they're going to be saying to each other. But then you do have to ask yourself the question: it shouldn't happen like that, should it? Where you should be able to do that on the pitch. We've got enough senior players on that pitch that if you can acknowledge the fact you're getting hammered in a game, as in performance-wise, that you do something about it on field. But yeah, we just need to see a reaction, and hopefully, start another run, because I think, like you said before, and we've said a few times, this league is so congested.
It's crazy.
A couple of poor results, you can really tumble down the division. But likewise, a couple of good results, this time of year now, the games come thick and fast. And if we can turn the corner, forget that whole game, turn the corner and pick up a couple of wins. We've got a couple of big games coming up now. These next two big games, obviously a big game against Watford, purely because it's a game we need a reaction in after a terrible performance against Hull. And then obviously the next game, which we'll talk about next week, which is a massive game, innit? Away to the Jacks.
And if we don't win that one, there will be trouble. Just be warned now. All right, you think I was serious about Cardiff? Pay attention.
Imagine if we play like we did against Hull, against Swansea.
Because I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll be there on Friday night. So, yes. Anyway, time for the salt, vinegar, and sauce core. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Watford?
I am going to go for a Wrexham win. I'm going to give benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say that I think we will get a reaction. I think one thing that is noticeable from Watford's fixtures is they do seem to score most games. There's not many games where they don't score. And given how, even though I expect a few changes on Saturday to the start 11, one of them in particular being the back three, I think that whole performance will give him the excuse he needs. So the back three I would expect on Saturday will be Doyle, Hyam and Max, I think.
I agree.
Pardon me. But because we did look so iffy, I'm gonna give Watford a goal. So I'm gonna say a 2-1 Wrexham win.
And I'm also predicting Wrexham 2, Watford 1. I think there will be a reaction. I think you can't help but anything else. Daz has predicted 1-1, by the way. Sorry, I didn't give you his score first. Daz has predicted a 1-1 remotely. I think there'll be...
I'll tell you what, then I'll change mine to 3-1 Wrexham.
You can't do that.
Why can't I?
Because you put it in already. It's tough. 2-1.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, once it's in, it's in.
Oh.
Sorry. Should have said 3-1 if you meant 3-1.
Sorry, once it's in on your massive keyboard.
Don't dick around. Yeah, so 2-1. I think there'll be a reaction. I think you can't help it, and I think we'll have enough because we'll be at home. I think being at home is the factor. I know it's not as invincible as it was last season, but I still think it makes a difference. And I think we need to get behind the team and just roar them on, because I think that's the only way to get anything to happen. Anyway, so let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. Next into the flyer tonight, it's Aberystwyth Town Women again. So Sunday the 14th of December, back at the Rock, back at 2 p.m, back with Aberystwyth Town Women. But no, it's not deja vu, before you ask. You're not having a fit. It's all right. It's the second of two games versus the Town, this time in the quarterfinals of the Genero Adran Trophy. In round one, Aber beat CPDM of Ellen Helly 7-0, and Wrexham, of course, beat Llandudno Ladies 9-0 to reach this round. Whoever wins this will go into the draw for the semi-final game, which will be played on Sunday, the 11th of January next year. And the chips are done. So quarterfinal of the Cup. We've already played Aberystwyth, and we already talked about how close that was. Expecting many changes? Expecting a different result?
I'm not. again, I'm not expecting a huge amount of changes. We have this conversation every time the women's team play in the cup, and I keep saying the same thing. I don't think she's got the luxury of making wholesale changes. There might be a few. Given the way the game went last Sunday, and the fact of how much ABBA surprised us all, right? Because they did. You look at our predictions from last week. We all predicted heavy Wrexham wins, and I don't think there would have been many people that would have given ABBA much of a chance. It does put a little bit of doubt in your mind for predicting this one. But my gut feeling is that I just think that last week's performance, as well as ABBA did, I think last week's performance was more of an anomaly in the sense of I can't see ABBA necessarily playing as well as they did, and I can't see us playing as bad as we did. So my gut feeling is I think it's going to be a Wrexham win, and I think it's going to be more likely a comfortable win than a close game like Sunday was.
I mean, it'd be interesting this one because it's the quarterfinals. All the Adran Premier teams are all playing each other because nobody from the lower leagues made it through to this round. Cardiff are playing Swansea on Sunday. So we know that if we win this game and get to the semi-finals, one of the two big clubs will be gone. We will not be in the draw. We will not be facing them potentially either in the semi-final or the final. That's got to be a good impetus. You've got to hope that would be something because again, looking at the fixtures, I think TNS are playing Ponty. You can't see anything more than a TNS win there, so it's going to be TNS. And the other one is Britain Ferry versus Barry Town. That could be either. I'll be honest. I don't think. I think you asked me this a couple of weeks ago. I don't think it will have a huge bearing on the Wrexham players and certainly on the management. I don't think they'll have any part of the conversation will be, a motivation to get through this round is the fact that one of the other big teams is going to be out because they're playing each other. I don't think they'll look at it like that. They'll look at it purely on the basis of a game by game. Who is your opponent? Worry about the next team when you get there. I don't think it'll make a jot of difference, to be honest. You're right from our point of view as fans. We're in the know of. Well, if we can get through this round, one of the other two big teams are going to be out. Happy days. I'm sure the powers that be are going to hope and pray that the two. If there are two big teams left in the final four, they're going to hope and pray if everybody gets through, you expect them to get through. They want us to play TNS in the semi, and then play either Cardiff or Swansea in the final. That's what they want.
Yeah, of course.
That's what they want. Yeah. Because that's the best telly. But what I'd like is for us to pull Britain Ferry or Barry and let TNS and Swansea or TNS and Cardiff knock each other out, and then we just go hopefully go through to the final, where potentially could be a Cardiff Wrexham final again. That would be three finals in 3 finals out of 4 in the last 2 seasons.
But that wouldn't be a surprise, would it? And ultimately, all that does, unfortunately, is just kind of emphasises what we talk about most weeks about the kind of general level of the league and the women's game, unfortunately.
So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce score. Daz unfortunately hasn't put his prediction in yet, so I'll put my prediction in. I think it's going to be Wrexham 4, Aberystwyth 0. I think there will be a reaction, same as the men. I think the women will have looked at exactly what went wrong. I think they will shut them out. I think they'll make some changes to try and stop their speedy wingers. I think the defence will definitely want to close everything down because they didn't have a particularly good game on Sunday. And I think they will put Aberystwyth to the sword. I think Aberystwyth will play incredibly well, as they always do, but I think Wrexham will just turn up the wick and really roll over them. That's what I think. So, Jamie, let's just go prediction for Wrexham Women versus Aberystwyth Town Women.
I agree with everything you've just said. The only change I would make is I will give Aber a goal. I think I said the same last week. I think if you look at their if you look at their games, they do score in most games. So I'm going to say 4-1 to Wrexham.
So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And we'll be looking at both these games in next week's pod. And now for the moment that literally nobody has been waiting for. Yes, it's time for the Eat More Chips Christmas giveaway. And not all the stuff that I no longer want that I want to get rid of, Jamie. How could you say that last week? Terrible.
Hey, look, it's either give it away to one of these listeners or I would have ended up with it for Christmas.
Exactly. Thank you to everybody who commented on last week's YouTube episode, particularly with reference to the fact that Jamie was wearing his Cartman hat. So there was lots of reference to that.
Yeah, there was a lot of love for my hat.
There was a lot of love. You should maybe wear it more often. Yep, there we go. Hey! Brilliant.
Yes!
So, without further ado, let's spin that magic wheel. Off we go. Round and round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows who's going to win. Hopefully it'll be somebody that doesn't live in Australia, although there's a postage is going to cost me a fortune. But I don't care who it is. Whoever it is going to win. Who's going to get it? It's getting close. It's getting close. I don't believe it. Is it going to stop? Is it going to be him?
No way.
No, it's not. Hey, Jesse JH17. Congratulations. Matt, by the way, the one previous that's Race Course Ramble, Matt. So it's a shame because I could have given it him on Saturday and during the match. But that's good. Jesse JH_17. Congratulations on winning the Christmas giveaway. Please message us, DM us, email us, eatmorechipspodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. And give us your address as quickly as you can, because then I can get it in the post and get it to you. Try and get you before Christmas. Again, I don't know where you live. Hopefully you live in Wrexham or something like that, and I can drop it off. But I don't think that.
Hopefully you live in some hut in Alaska that's takes about 3 years to get post stuff to you. That'd be really fun.
But massive congratulations and Nadala Clowin, happy Christmas from the pod. Hope you enjoy the goodies. Yeah, I'll get it in the post soon as I can. So there you go, another week over.
Before you do your outro, I just realised that after 2 hours of recording, I better just acknowledge the fact that I look a bit like Hugh Hefner sat here with this velvet on. I'm freezing cold, and I have been freezing cold. So this is my hoodie, which I've been wearing.
Looks like you're wearing a bin bag.
Well, if you've got fluffy line bin bags, son, then you must be. Is
this a sponsorship deal? Is this why you're doing this? You've not told me that you're getting paid.
Yeah, I'm getting paid by Primark's finest. No, I've just sat here and I didn't really realise, but it does look a bit weird that I'm sat here in like a fluffy velvet top. It's a.
You look like 50 pence.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's your birthday. You're gonna party like it's your birthday.
Anyway, thanks very much, everybody watching. Next week, it will be our Christmas special, where we look back on Wrexham hosting Watford, Wrexham Women hosting Aberystwyth Town, and we'll look forward to the mouth-watering Christmas games as Wrexham visit Swansea City. Boo! Wrexham Women try and reach the next round of the Beauty Energy Wales Cup versus Penabont Women, and Boxing Day sees us host Chris Wilder, the Stoke Ras. Plus, next week, we have a special guest as Andy Morell drops in for some festive cheer and gives us his thoughts on how Wrexham are doing and how they may move forward in 2026. Please let us know by the usual channels, either on social media, comment on the YouTube video, comment on Spotify. We're now on Audible as well. I managed to get us onto Audible, which was great. Comment on any of those or give us an email, eatmorechipspodcast, gmail.com, even if it's just to say Merry Christmas, because, we're getting in the Christmas mood.
So seeing as I was the Christmas episode last week, next week, I'm going to go all American YouTube here. In the comments, let us know in the comments. Shall I do the episode drunk?
Up here or up here? Shall I do the episode? No, you're not doing the episode drunk.
Why?
I can't get any sense out of you when you're bloody sober.
Oh, come on, I think that'd be quite funny.
Plus, we're recording on a Monday night. You can't record. You can't get drunk on a Monday night.
I'm self-employed.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, we can get drunk whenever you like. Just ask the boss. Ask yourself. That's all right.
I will. Yeah, I will.
Good. Okay.
Can I get drunk when I do the pod next week? Yes, you can. Yes, that's fine. It's fine.
I think you should go to HR about that, to be honest with you. It sounds like bullying in the workplace to me because your boss sounds like a prick. Anywho, thanks very much for watching. Jamie, as usual, you've been the perfect pundit, giving a balanced view of crap and shite. So thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Daz, we miss you. We know you're massively busy at the moment. Hopefully we'll get you back in soon because it'd be great to celebrate Christmas with you. But understand if you can't bear to be around that twat all the time. So, because I've only lived with him for 40 plus years. So I understand that. But, you know,
You got against
look
Santa? Oh, you're talking about me? Oh.
No, I was talking about you. Yeah, exactly. But thank you very much for your time. Thanks very much for your comments. And of course, until next week, come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back to back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast!